Hello, welcome back to yet another video. In this video, I'm gonna try doing something new. That is, I'm gonna live code and then uh, code in front of you guys and try to figure things out in front of you. So what I am trying to do today is something very interesting that we all use in everyday life, but we fail to see what's underneath that. So I'm going to implement OAuth 2.0 and OADC. Sorry. So to give a brief introduction on what we are going to try implementing it. Even I have no idea how exactly I'm going to implement it, but I know the protocol behind OAuth 2.0, OpenID connect and everything. I just wanted to uh, translate the protocol into code here. So basically how things are implemented nowadays is there are specialized packages even in golang python and everything which does the authentication and stuff for you, but I just wanted to hard code everything by myself, just raw dog it and then just implement the only that feature. Now, this is the base feature and then you can just keep building on top of it. Like you can implement SAML, you can implement a basic username and password using JWT. Even this OpenID Connect in the behind the scenes uses JWT, JSON Web Token. People call JART or something. Okay, so we will implement that as well. So our main goal is, let's take some random website. For example, let's take what's hot right now. uh, we'll go to ChatGPT. When we have a login something, okay, we'll see deep seek. Okay, so when you go to DeepSeek, you can see there is classic username and password type of verification, and then there is this Google OAuth verification. It's not technically Google OAuth, it's OpenID Connect on top of Google OAuth, and we'll discuss the theory. I think if I'm able to implement this fully, then we can discuss about the theory behind OAuth 2.0 and then OpenID Connect, and the difference between authentication and authorization and so on. So you can see there is this login with Google, which just takes to your email ID and you just log in. I just wanted to just do that feature because this user email ID and password feature is a lot easier to implement because it is straightforward. You just create a username and password, but you need to take care of few vulnerabilities like cross-site request forgery, then all those stuff. You should make sure that when you create a username password, we set a JWT and then we create a session and so on. Most probably, I am not going to move forward with creating sessions and so on. All I wanted to do is when I just need to log in with Google, and then after logging in I will redirect to some other page for successful login. Then you can just keep building on top of it, which I am going to do eventually. I'll just build one feature after the other, but I just need to build the base over 2.0 because it is a very interesting protocol and I just wanted to explore it. So let's get started. So I wrote some boilerplate before starting recording this video. I just initially thought of building this whole over 2.0 on my own without recording, but I just felt it'll be interesting if I could record and then figure things out and then put a longer video so that it'll be interesting to see behind the scenes of all the videos I make. Because usually what I do is I create I write the code, I do everything, and then in the end I just make a video on how I did it. But this time I just wanted to code along, figure things out, and then upload the same so that I can give more context to what I'm doing. And I couldn't find a lot of videos implementing OAuth in Go. So maybe this can be an intro video, because there are a lot of things that we need to consider before implementing OAuth. We will consider few things, and we'll do a very rudimentary version of it, and then we can eventually work on top, create a session. Then you can do whatever kind of session you want, like a JWT session or a database session, and just you can build forward. So to start things off, I just created a boilerplate, a Go boilerplate. So I'm using Viper for config management, and then for log I'm using Uber's Zap logger. What it does is just stores, basically instead of me writing the logger on my own, uh, I just using the Uber's Zap logger, and then I'm writing it in this file. You can see you can do all kinds of things with this logger. We can customize the logger and everything, because Uber uses the same logger and it's open source. It is called as Zap. So for now, what I did is I just set up the logger. I just set up the config file. So we have this config here, and then the port. It's all very basic stuff. We just need to keep building from here on. And then I wrote an middleware which does nothing, just the middleware file. But I wrote route. Just I'm going to use gin here, because I just wanted to chain handlers together. So it'll be easy for me to write an auth middleware and all sorts of middleware. So I'm going to use Golang's gin here for middleware, which is all fine, because our main aim is not these things here. Our main aim is to just try and figure out how to implement the OAuth 2.0. By implementing it, we'll try to understand how it works. Um, I think the quality of video and the recording would be a lot better, because I've improved my setup. I have now I'm just recording it in another machine now, and then I've improved my mic, and so that the video quality will be a little better, because I wanted to improve the video quality aspect as well. So to get started, we'll just need, like, suppose you see DeepSeek here. They have this page, right? We just need to first recreate one empty user route where this login to Google will come. I just don't know how these all things will work, but we'll see. So my aim is just one empty page where it will have this login to Google button alone, and then we'll take that forward. So let's see. So we will not worry about middleware now, but we'll just start with a simple route. We'll just create a group. Next what I want to try is, I will just link this group into some handler. This is basically a GET request, because we just wanted to load a web page. We'll call this as user, or just login will be good enough. Sorry, I'm struggling because this is a Windows machine and I'm used to using Mac now, so I'm struggling with save. I think I'll get better. So now I need to create an handler for this. So we'll do handler dot login. What I want to try is I will just link this group into some handler. This is basically a GET request because we just wanted to load a web page. We'll call this as user, or just login. Login will be good enough. Sorry, I'm struggling because this is a Windows machine and I'm used to using Mac now, so I'm struggling with save. I think I'll get better. So now I need to create an handler for this. So we'll do handler dot login. And then we'll import handler here. So to import handler, we first need to create an handler. Inside web, we'll create an handler. And then I will import this handler here. Goauth / this inside web. I don't know what's wrong with this icon pack. I'm not sure because might have installed this icon pack years ago and just looks stupid. Okay, it has been imported. We need then login page handler. So let's see. Login page handler, and then it will take a gin context because this is very important because I can just store our logger inside the context and then we can pass around and use it in the handler. So what I'm trying now is I'm just requesting the context from the gin and then I'm storing it and then I'm using it so that the context remains same throughout the app. So using this context I am fetching our logger. So I wrote a function. See, I wrote a function. What it does is it is somewhere inside package. Yeah, it is got, what it does is when you pass a context, it just retrieves the logger out of the context. So what I am doing while setting the context initially, I would write this logger into this context with this constant, and then when I pass the context next time, I can retrieve the logger anywhere I want. So that's the thing I'm trying now. This is an HTML template package, and then I wanted to retrieve this UI templates path, so I will just store it in in my config. So my UI template is under web UI. It is inside web template. So we'll create a new folder called templates, and then I will create the first template, that is login page.html. So I'll just have an h1 tag. Now I will import this define. Okay. So what I'm doing here is when I hit this slash login root, it just goes to our login page handler. When it executes this template from the template path, and then if there is an error in parsing the file, so this guy is Uber has different varieties of logger. Sugar is in simpler version. We can just pass different kinds of parameters. Then there is another version which is for high grade production quality, where you can set the format and then use it and so on. We just need a basic logger with an error message and time, and that's it. So this will be good enough for us. And then I will execute this template. So template.execute. I'll do a writer here, and then I don't have to pass any variables as of now. So suppose this HTML can have certain fields like name and so on, and then this name can be passed from the handler and it can be written here. So in that case we might need to specify the structure which you need to pass, but here that's not required. After executing the template, even this template will give us an error, and then if there's an error in executing the template, I'll just print the error. Okay, I think we are good to go. Let's run the HTTP server. So the command is go build main, that will execute the main, but I wanted to execute with some other name, so I can give -o and then I will change the exe name to goauth. So now we have exe called goauth, and then I just need to execute the exe. You can see that the HTTP server has started and it's been running at port 8080. We will try to localhost 80 / login. Oh, page not found. Okay, I found the mistake. So you can see there's been a request on port 8080 and then we are trying to reach out login. But since we have an group here called web and then we are adding this login in the group, I think we need to call it as web/login. Yes. So you can see this is our login page here. So we are all set here. Now assume we have this button. Upon clicking, we just need to do our Google OAuth. So we'll just create that simple button here. So I'll go to the HTML page and then I'll just create an form post. I think we'll do a basic form and then it will have a button id is equal to which is a submit button, right? It is equal to submit or whatever. You can just, we don't have to use it as a submit button. We can just give an id as SSO. SSO is the short form of single sign-on. That's what we are trying to achieve here. Click here for single or else we'll change it as sign in sign in with Google. ID is equal to SSO or something, so that we can just do a post request and then fetch the value. Let's rerun and see if this button works. So this is one good thing about writing this logger here. You can see what exactly has happened because I have logged every single thing here. So you can see there's been the logger has been initialized and then I have reached this web.login and so on. So by writing all these things, it will be easier for me to debug. You can see what level it is and at what time this happened and then who has called the exact function, who has called it, and then message and so on. You can custom write this logger as well, but I saw this Uber logger which is easier to set up and then it's been used by Uber itself, so I just started using it and I think it has saved a lot of debugging days because sometimes I just push code quickly to production and then the only way I'm able to see how many users use the users use the website to debugging is through this logs. So now let's refresh. Yeah, you see we have this button. So the next thing we wanted to the only thing which we want here is when we click on sign in, we want that pop-up of asking us. We just need to replicate this. You can see it just asks our email ID. When I click this, it'll go and I need to exactly do that. So where do we get started? OAuth is not meant to be an authentication tool. It is built to be an authorization tool. There is a difference between authentication and authorization, and all these theories I would cover it in the end of this video, because if I can able to implement this, then it will be a valid thing for me to explain the theory behind it. So there are a bunch of providers here who just they are called as an identity providers. Then we just need to pick one. There are multiple identity providers like this Google, and then there is a guy called auth2, and this famous is called Okta, and then there is an Azure AD and so on. We'll be using Google here. So first we need to choose a provider and register with the provider, because only if I register it, he would be providing me with an client ID and a client secret. Let me pick a whiteboard here. So what happens is, this is our application. There are a few terms here which we need to know about OAuth. I will link a detailed video which is a 6-year-old video by Okta, which is still valid, which covers in depth about the theory behind this OAuth 2.0, OpenID, connect and so on. But for our implementation, we might need to know a few theories. Suppose there is something called client here. The client in our case is the website here. So the website which you are building has this sign in with Google, which is the client here, and then our Google is our identity provider. So now we need to request Google, and we need two things here. One is the ID, user ID, and then the second one is the access token. That should be the result. That should be the last result of OAuth here. So after you get the user ID, you can. This is OAuth plus Open Identity Connect. So OpenID Connect is just a smaller tweak and a smaller layer on top of OAuth, and then eventually what we want is here we are doing an authentication, and we are using OpenID Connect here. So in the end we'll get one user token, which is an JWT token, and then an access token. So with this user token, we will have the ability to check whether the right user is trying to log in here or not, which was earlier missing in if we try to authenticate with just OAuth. What OAuth does is it just checks if the access token matches with the if the access token matches, and then it just allows everybody because OAuth job is not to authenticate but to authorize. So once you have the access token, it authorizes you with the a bunch of permission. So let's get started on how do I implement this. So first I think we need to find a way can understand the theory. Let's see. So since I'm picking Google identity, Google as on my identity provider, I will read the docs. So one thing which now this identity provider will give is an client ID and a client secret, and as the name suggests, client secret should be kept secret. For this video, because since I'm building in front of everybody, I'll show my secret, but by the time when this video is out, I would delete the key. So I will log in. Let's see what I should do here. So I need to create a new project here. Okay, select a project. Yes. So I'm going to create a new project here. My project name will be test OAuth. Or so you can add an organization wise SSO. That is, when you try to sign in with Google, you can just suppose you work at Apple, and you have an instead of Apple ID you have an Google ID with end with at apple.com or so on, something that is called, those kind of email IDs are called as organization email IDs. And if you wanted to allow just email ID of a certain organization, you can enable that, but here we don't have the use case, so it is no organization. So we name it as test OAuth, and then I'm not giving any organization. Let's see. A project is an broad spectrum, because inside the project you can create any different kind, you can enable or disable any of the available APIs here. So now we are in our test OAuth project, and then we will enable the Google API. Open the console's left side menu and select API and service. Select API and service. Oh, there is this OAuth consent screen. Click the credentials. Okay, you can see there's an OAuth 2.0 credential IDs. Okay, click on new credential and select OAuth client ID. Ensure that it's appropriate. Okay, select the appropriate application type for your project and enter additional information. Okay, create credentials, OAuth client ID. You must first configure your concerns. What's that? Available to any test user with Google account. Yes. So this is the type which I was talking about. Like if you have an organization level email ID, you can enable users just in your organization. If you wanted to enable for everybody, you can just add external. There are a bunch of things that needs to be configured here, and we'll figure things out one after one. So this is test. So the scope is very important here. So what happens is when you are trying to reach out to an URL here, if you have the particular scope in you, only then it will give out the required results which you are asking. Suppose you ask for user.email, and then it will send you back the email address. I think this is enough. User profile. The main important thing which we want is to enable this OpenID, because we are going to depend on OpenID Connect. So this when you enable this OpenID, our request will have this OpenID scope, and then if it sees this OpenID scope, it will send us back a JSON web token, Upon extracting the token, you will have the details of the users here. We are creating a web application. Type is test OAuth. Yes, this is the most important thing here. So what? So what we need to do is we need to create another page, home.html. So this page will act as the one which is getting redirected after successful login. So, you have been successfully logged in. You have been successfully logged in, and I'll add it in a route. Homepage honey. So when /home is typed, it just calls this one, and this is home.html. Then I'm just executing it. So now we have two routes. One route is the one which we are seeing already, which is sign in with Google. And after the whole OAuth is done, we'll just redirect it back to this home.html, which says that it has been successfully logged in. So as part of redirect, 1 minute, the routes, it is /home. Authorized URL, yes, http local host 8080 web/home. So we just wanted to redirect to this web.home. So you can see here there is this client ID, and then there is this client secret. The secret has to be kept secret. So we'll create an environment variable here. Just store client secret for client secret equal to 1 here. Always remember this has to be secret. Just for this example, I am storing it in environmental variable. You can use a secret manager on whatever it takes to store it. Client ID. Cool. Let's see what's the next step. So we need to, let's see if the scope is enough. So suppose when you try to log in into a Facebook or Instagram, sometimes it might ask is do you want to allow me to access the certain data from your thing? That's the basic authorization. Suppose you have a Facebook account and then you just uh, you build an external app. That external app needs to sign in with Google. But what your app does is it reads the contacts from the Google account and just displays. Assume the app does that. So what you are trying to do here is, that's the main advantage of OAuth here. So you are not giving your password away, you are just giving the token, because earlier if you want to do this, there's no other way than giving the external app your username and a password, so that he just and making sure that, and just blindly trusting him that he will just use your contact and just fetch them and then display it, and he won't misuse with your IDs. But now what you can do is you can create a scope here, that these are the only things you will be able to do with when you, if you have an account. And so when the token is generated, and even though he has the access to your account, that doesn't mean he has a complete access, and he has just the access for the scope. That is, if you enable just an OpenID, or just access my camera, access my contact and so on, then he'll have the ability to just access those things, and that's the consent screen. So what are the things, so when you are building an app here, let's take this is our client app. So I need to make sure that there are certain things that I might need from the user's Gmail address. So all those things needs to be configured beforehand, and that is done in the console screen. In scope, so I'm the scope which I'm allowing is to get user's mail ID and then OpenID. You can even add a bunch of stuff, that is like a profile. So what exactly is this is, so eventually what happens is our client will return back the access token, and he will try to reach out to this route here, that is /auth/userinfo.profile with the access token. So now the access token is set to have allow permission for this userinfo.profile, this OpenID and email. Other than this, he can't do random things with your mail ID, like going to your Google Photos and downloading them, or deleting something which is existing, because those things are not in the scope. And you might also think that what if we ask, what if a client adds in a certain scope and the user doesn't know them? But that is not possible, because when you add all the scope, our screen will exactly show them that what are the things which we are going to take, and then only if with our consent we'll go inside and fetch all the details. So we can, there are bunch of scope which Google provides, you can just add them. I just added these three basic stuff here. So before we move forward, we just have to know what exactly is the flow which we are gonna implement now. So this diagram you can see here, it's from Okta's YouTube video, which has been posted 6 years ago, as I mentioned earlier. I'll just link that video in the description, which is an extraordinary video which talks about the theory behind this OAuth and OpenID Connect and so on. So this is the exact thing which I'm going to implement now. So what happens is here, I will just explain the diagram so that it will be easier to follow along when I code this. So what is happening is, we have a client here which we have already built, and it has a button called connect with Google. So what happens is, the moment we click here, it will open our authorization pop-up asking us to select our Gmail ID. So to do this, we need to set up few parameters, and then after setting up the parameters, we would just send send an request to this, we'll just redirect to this URL. This is important because we need to if we see here, there are few things which are important, that is two sorry we see here there are two important things here, two important concepts here, which is front channel and then back channel. Front channel is it is through the web, so it is not 100% secure because anybody can breach in the middle and then pick the value. Back channel is from server A to server B communication, direct post request communication. Here, since it is in post request and mostly they prefer HTTPS request, so there is no interruption in the middle, because it is HTTPS, as well as it is not going through the web. So initial few stages in the OAuth flow is through the web, and then the later half is through the back channel, that is direct server to server communication. The first few steps are, the moment you click continue with Google, it just opens up the authorization portal here, and then you fill in you choose your Google account and then fill in your username and password. So to do so, we just have this OAuth's URL, and you need to send in few parameters along with it, like scope, and then the response code. Response code is the what type of response you want, and then the redirect URI. So the moment all these things are done, it needs to redirect to an URL. So that URI, you need to mention it here, and then after this authorization, it will ask you and it will give you a pop-up asking you to agree to all the scopes. So these scopes are the ones which we set earlier, that is viewing profile, OpenID, and all those things. So it will show, that is, I'll just show you here. This OAuth consent screen, right? The things which we filled here in the OAuth consent screen will be populated here, and that's the one which the users will be asked to accept. If he accepts it, then what it does is it'll get us an authorization code. So using this authorization code, we need to again reach out to authorization to our Google authorization and then exchange access token for our code. So this is not just directly sending code. Along with this code, we need to send our client secret, which we created here. In credentials, there is this client secret which we created. You can see here. So along with the authorization code, we need to send this client secret back to our identity provider, and then he will trade off an access token for us. So this access token is very important because this is the primary thing that Google or our services will validate. That's why it doesn't validate who are you, what is your username, what is your password, what are these things and anything. It just verifies your token. That's the main reason we shouldn't use this for authorization, and this is the main reason why you should use for authorization, not for authentication. For authentication, you need just more than token. You just need to verify that it's the right user that's been signing in. So the moment we get this token will have all these scopes in it. So the next thing is, we can just go hit whatever API we want. That is, we need to whatever API we need to access. Suppose the scope of this is profile and contacts. So with our app, so this elm.com, its main aim is to get the contact details from the email. So what happens is, this authorization to this access token, which is been provided by the identity provider, will have an access to just profile and contacts.
So the moment we again go hit the URL of the profile or URL of the contacts, we need to send this token as well. Thus the this token will act as a sole entry point as an identifier, and it will give back the contacts. So this is the overall flow which we are going to implement here. Let's do an easier version of it. First, the first thing is the URLs which we need to go and reach out. So we'll create a new package for, it's called auth.go package auth. Do auth. So the package is auth. The file is also auth. So in config we'll add auth config auth. So here we need to configure few things, that is Google's auth URL. So this is the first URL which we're gonna hit the moment we click the button. Then we need to trade token, so we need a token URL. And then finally the main aim of doing this is to get the user info. So there will be an URL for user info. So after all authentication and everything is done, with the access token we go fetch the user info, and then we can match the info and say that this guy is authorized to go in, or he can be authenticated in, and so on. So this is the user info URL, and then there is this redirect URL. Here it is not on callback, here it is home. So we are just redirecting it to home here. So next what I am going to do is I will so usually for production quality app we need to maintain states, and we maintain it through sessions, but here for simplicity purpose I will just have a global map just for the sake of moving forward and focusing on just our auth here. So I just made a map of string and bool which will act as an identifier here, and then we need to generate something called a state. So what a state is, the moment you go do a bunch of things here, and the authenticator returns some value back. So you go do something, the authenticator returns back, and multiple things happens, but we wanted to make sure that our data or nothing has been tampered in between. So you send in with a state, and then it should return back with the same state. So if it returns back with the same state, it means that there hasn't been any tampering of your data or the connection between. So I'll just generate some random number string. You can see I'm not using math/rand, and I'm using crypto/rand in Go, because math/rand has been deprecated, and crypto/rand is the now new normal. And then the next thing is in our main home page, after this button we can just remove the form as well. I just need to read send to the auth URL. I think this is the way to do. I'm not sure, or else we can just write an axiom or something and then do a post request. That will also work fine. So now I'm going to handle Google's auth handler in our handler package. So what happens is here we hit this route auth/Google, and then that route will point to this handler that we will write soon. And then the moment the route is hit, we will reach out to this handler. So first we will generate the state here, which is OAuth dot generate state, which is OAuth dot generate state, and then I need to import OAuth. So go auth slash package slash OAuth. This it needs to be in capital letter, because we are referencing it from some other package. State generation failed. Before that we want our logger. Now we need to generate the URL which we are going to pass it. That is, we need to from here, the moment we connect with Google, we need to go reach this google.com's pop-up, but we can't directly reach out here. We need to pass in some parameters as well to reach out to this authorization part, the google.com part. So we will construct that URL. So there are bare minimum things which we need to construct. With the first one is the client ID. So this client ID comes from the .env file. That is this client ID, and this is the OAuth client secret. So we just need to read from our .env file. So in main, I'll use a package to load env files here. Along with loading all these things, I will load the env files, or you can do it in the beginning. Just remove this. Error not equal to nil. I will print the error. This log writes in the journal because our logger isn't even set. So until we set the logger, we just write it in the journal and move forward. So I will just do gomot id to download this. Yeah, it's been added. Now in our handler, then just do client id, which is an array of bytes, os dot. Our default OS package itself has this getEnv. Just you can do two things here. We can do getEnv as well as setEnv. So the other way of doing it without packages, reading everything in the .env file and then doing and storing it inside the env using setEnv and then retrieving it using getEnv. The same thing is done using this package. The name which we are giving here is client id. Client id. So since it's an array of byte, I am just converting it into strings. And the next thing which I want is the redirect URL. The redirect URL comes from our config. We can use similarly, that is viper dot, it is inside OAuth, redirect URL. Similarly, next we need to set the response type as code. So what this does is it gives us back the authorization code using which we can trade to get our access token. And then I'm going to add the profiles here. So in scope, these are the things are my scope. So I might access OpenID, email, and then profile. These are the things I might access. So if you add a certain scope here, all these scope needs to be configured in our OAuth consent screen. And then finally I'll add our state here. So the state which we generate is been added here. We will construct our auth URL. So our auth URL, if you go see here, our auth URL for DeepSeek, you can see the auth URL consists of something like this: OAuth URL and then the parameters like client ID and all those things, redirect URI. response type is equal to code, scope is equal to profile, email, access type is equal to offline. All of those are parameters, which is exactly what we want to do. We have this base URL as well as the parameters here. Now we need to link the base URL and query params together. It works something like this. So here we need to specify our auth URL, which is in our config. So we'll use wiper to do so. Config. After creating the auth URL, we just need to redirect the URL to this URL. Redirect and then writer auth URL, and then we will have an HTTP status code that is temporarily redirected. Status temporarily redirect. In the C dot writer C dot request. So it takes response writer, request, URL and code, which is in the gin context. We are redirecting it to our auth URL. So for now, let me recap what we have done. So the moment we click this button in our UI, we will be redirecting it to this handler, and what we are going to do in this handler is construct our authentication URL, and then we just redirect to the authentication URL. The next step is handling our callback. So we will write I'll write an handler to handle the callback. So callback happens after there will be this. So this is the step which we have, and then the moment we sign in with our Gmail ID, we need to go back to the where we just need to be redirected to wherever we wanted to go. So that place is called the callback. That's where we need to redirect to. So to do so, I will see agenda. The basic things are same, gin.context, and then get the logger out. Now for the first things first, we need to fetch our state. So from the request, I think it's the response. It is request. So from the request, we need to fetch the state value, and we need to see this state matches with the state here. Since I am not having any session or so, I'm ignoring it here. But usually how it works is compare our state in the DB. State can be anything with the state received. If they don't match, then network has been tampered. So don't allow them to log in. And then the next step is to get the other values, especially the code, because code is very essential. That is the authorization code which they give us back. The identity provider give us back. Using that, we need to next generate the access token. code is the authorization code with which we will trade to get access token. So if code is empty, that means we can't move forward, so we'll just log error. Empty, and then we'll return out. Now we'll move forward to the next step. Now we have, since we have the authorization code, we need to go to the token URL and get the token from there. The parameters are the authorization, you can see here. So now we are here with the authorization code. Now we need to exchange authorization code for access token. So for that we need two things here: authorization code as well as the secret, which we generated in our OAuth console. We'll do something like a data is equal to URL dot value, and then now we'll do the same thing. We'll set code, and then we'll set client ID. Client ID, since it is an environment, OS dot get env. Client ID is this one. And then this is very important. Now we need to have the client secret here. So OS dot get env equals client secret. So these are the parameters now for post request. So then again we need to send the redirect URL, which is the same URL. So after all these things done, I just need to redirect to the same URL, which is the vibe dot just get it from here, redirect URL, and then grant type is authorization code. This is important because we are going to be verifying our authorization code and then get our access token. So now we will do a post request with all these parameters in response error http dot post form to the URL. So here what we are doing is we are not directly sending an post request through the browser, rather directly sending the post request to the other server. This is because we don't have to because of the concept called back channel. In front channel it just goes through the web, so there is a possibility of getting the values as I explained earlier. So by doing this, so we are not directly passing through the web, and we are directly sending a post request to our destination server. So here I need to mention the back channel post. So now I want the URL, so we'll just go there. Since I want token here, I want a Google's token URL. So how do I do it? Viper dot and the string is Google token URL. Google's token URL. All these things can be done inside the package and we can get the value, but for now I'm just doing it here. And then I'm passing the data here. So form, this is the form URL and this is the form data. Not equal to nil. L dot sugar dot error form post request failed. The error is the error message. And now we have the response. The response consists of our token, which is the most important thing of all. So now I want to read the read what's in the body comma error was dot read all. Is it io dot read all? io dot read yes, it is io dot read all response body. The response body. If error not equal to nil, reading response body failed. Now we need to just this will be an byte array and we need to unmarshal this JSON and then get our values. So where token response struct, so it will have access token which is string and then ID token which is also string. So we need to mention what will be the JSON field here. So this access token is the one here, the other one is ID token. So what will happen is our JSON will consist of this access token field and ID token field. So this access token field's value will be stored in this variable, ID token field will be stored in that variable. Then I just need to unmarshal it. This takes too long. Okay, so after the error I should return out. Unmarshal JSON failed and then the error and return error. I'll just return out. Now we have another thing to do here. So this is more than enough to just go and get the token back. Now we have the access token here and ID token here. There are multiple things we can do here. This ID token here is this ID token is a JWT token. So we can extract details from the ID token directly, or since in our scope we have given and allow access to the user's URL. We'll just go hit that URL and see what happens. So to get user info, immediately I'll go hit the Google users URL. Even this can send an error. You can just run get request failed. Request failed. The request, I'll just add an header. So but this will actually return an error because we haven't added the bearer token. That is to, from now on, for every scope which we need to reach, we need to send our access token. So that this is the main purpose of OAuth. Still now we've been trying to receive the access token, and after receiving the access token, this is the main purpose of OAuth. That is to authorize. So it helps to authorize things. Suppose now we need to see whether we have the authority to get the username or not, user details or not. So now what we are going to do is we are going to add authorization, and I'll add the bearer token, bearer plus sub the token, and then client http dot client response error. So for this client I would do an request. So it sends an HTTP request and then returns an HTTP response. So why I am doing this is, usually we need an HTTPS to do this thing, but since I wanted to do an HTTP, I am doing it this way. I'll just use this error code here and then user then I'm different. I can just redirect to anything. So let me redirect. So we'll do something. So I will redirect this to I'll just redirect this to our home. W is the c dot writer, c dot request. So I'll redirect to home, and this one I will call it as callback handler, and then in route, let's see, and then I will just have an, do I have an success home handler? No. Okay. So now finally I will be redirected to home handler. It's pretty straightforward here. It's just like how we did before. Okay, there is this home page handler. Okay, then we'll finally we don't have to rewrite them. I'll just move this below. So finally we'll just redirect to home page handler. So now we need to modify our routes to make sure things happens properly. We'll see. The first things is here I need to go auth to Google, and then in handler I would do a temporary redirect. The redirect URI, 1 minute, the redirect URI. So the redirect URI should callback. It should be web/callback, and this URI should be added in our website also. Just go. Just edit. Continue. It's not here. Okay. Credentials. Test OAuth. Yeah, here. So you just want to redirect to callback, and then the JavaScript origin is HTTP localhost. This is not mandatory, but still 8080. You just don't have to send it. If you need, we'll come and add. The next thing is we'll write a bunch of routes here. Let's go to routes. So after login, there will be another route rweb dot get /Google handler dot. Okay, it's all in small letters, so you just need to change it into capital. Callback C. Home page is fine. So the initial handler will call Google Auth handler, and then it will automatically redirect, and it will, but we need to just remove auth. It's not needed. Okay, this is needed, but here when it is in web, okay, so make sure that this handler has it is. Should I encode /web here or not? I think so. I don't need it. Let's see. No, I would need to, because here we just go to web/Google, and then the route here will be, I think it is callback, and for callback we'll go to callback handler, and inside callback handler we will to web/home. So web/home will come here, and then it will display. Everything looks fine. We'll start debugging now. So I'm building the project. Let's see how long it takes to debug. I'm pretty much sure it's not gonna work in the first take. But we have well and enough logs, so we can fix it. But I am not sure about fixing it from the OAuth panel. So the first thing first, so we have our screen, and then the moment we click, nice, the first error is missing redirect URI parameter. If you are the developer of this app, okay, I think I can understand. It's not reading fine. I just tried multiple times to set up my debugger, but it seems this old machine is a 32-bit machine and I can't run this debugger. So back to good old days, writing print statement and debugging. I wanted something. I just wrote a bunch of print statements. There are few mistakes here. This redirect URI, and then the one here, it most probably is problem due to this environ variable. Let me see. Should I use an underscore here instead of, so let's see. Is that a reason? Everything, and I would add an underscore, and then I will reference it as client ID. Let's see. Cool, it worked. Shit, man, it's not mentioned in the docs though. Do you use just underscore? Cool. I think there is a way to manage this through Viper itself, but I haven't tried it out. Let me remove, and then I'll search for client ID, and I would replace it with client underscore ID. And then the other one is OAuth client secret, replace it with OAuth underscore client underscore secret. Cool. And then the next thing, okay, we'll get started. I think this bug is solved. The routes you can't send because you sent an invalid request. Redirect URI mismatch. What is redirect URI here? I think it has to do with the localhost web callback. I have added a, let's see, should remove this, save. Both the URI should match. Sorry. Cool. So that's a good progress we have reached here. Let's see. So we can now bisect this and see what happens. Just for your example, I'll just paste it here. This is the structure which we are forming. You can see these are the parameters which we have given. Response type is code. Then we have given a bunch of scope, and then we have given a state string, and then the flow and is general OAuth flow. I didn't give it, just got added. So you can see this is the URL, and then these are the parameters which I'm adding: client ID, redirect URI, response code, scope, state, and service. So let's see what happens next. The moment I click this, continue. Okay, something happened. So if we trace back what happened, then the callback happened, and then there is another callback back to home. So we are reaching home. I found out the mistake is here. We're routing home again here, so it has to be home page handler. I think now everything will work fine. See, you have been logged in successfully. Let's do this web login, and then when I sign in with Google, and you have been successfully signed in because it has cached us. So you want to see everything from scratch. Localhost 8080 web login, sign in with Google. So the moment sign in, you can see the Google asks for name, email address, language preference, and profile picture to test with test OAuth. So test OAuth is the profile which I created. So for that, it will take all these details. So all these things have been configured before. So once we give OK to it, see, you've been logged in. That's it. So we can just expand this whole business like here we have this user's request which we get from the user. We send the access token and we get a response, but we are not doing much with the response. Now what you can do is you can read the response body, and then you can make sure that the response body's user is there in our database. So if that user is exactly there in our database, we move forward, else we will just push him out. We can add that state here, and and we can do another thing. Suppose here you will notice that that user is not there because he's doing for this first time. So when you go hit this users URL info, and you get an response that user not found. You can create a new user in the database create a new session for him. After creating a new session for him, you can redirect him to the home with the session. So every time until the session is valid, he's been logged in. So from the next time onwards, when he tries to do the SSO, it'll automatically check for his response, and you will see it is there in the database, and you can just redirect it. And this grows and grows and grows. I will link the OAuth's principle and this protocol video down in the description. After watching it, if you see this implementation, it'll be a lot more easier. Thank you for tuning in. See you in some other video. Bye.